So let's say that you've been painting, and you've been painting your miniatures, and you've been watching videos on YouTube about how to do it better. You started using a wet palette, started looking at all other people's informational videos, learning, reading blog posts, and you've come up with a model you really like, and it looks great. And now you want to take a picture of it to show people on your blog or on a forum that you frequently frequent, and you want to impress them with how awesome your paint job is on this model that you've done. And then you try to take a picture of your model, and it comes out and it doesn't look right. It's not very well lit. Take it outside into bright sunlight because you figure, well, that's nature's light or whatever, so I'll go out there, but it's too bright, and so you get this real shadowy looking thing. Or there's a lot of things that can happen that can make it difficult to take pictures properly of your finished miniatures. The best way to take a good picture of a miniature is to use something that I like to call a Lightbox. Other people might call it something else, but it is basically a little environment where the model can be lit on both the left and the right, and also the top, and there's no shadow, or very little shadow if you do it right. Now you can buy light boxes. You can go out and I actually own a good size one. It's quite large, and it kind of, well, in theory it will fold back up. It kind of, you twist it and it kind of, and then when you want to take it out of the package it pops open. I popped it open once and now I can't get it back in the bag. I can't twist it the right way. I mean, I have one of those big reflectors that's round and you just turn it and twist it. There's like a wire inside the outside of it, and you turn it and twist it until it becomes real small. You put it back in the bag. That's easy. But this is a cube made out of like a white ripstop nylon, and I'm bad at Rubik's Cubes, and I'm really bad at trying to figure out the way to twist this thing properly to get it back in the bag. So it has always been open since the first time, and it's probably going to stay that way. But it's a nice, huge, big thing. You can put lights on the side, light on the top, take great shots, and put vehicles in there, a Land Raider or something huge, whatever. You can take pictures of quite large things with this crazy, pop-up tent thing. They can be expensive, these pop-up tent things. I think the one I paid for was probably about $75. You probably find them cheaper on eBay or maybe someplace like Amazon, but they're not cheap. So I just want to show you something I built before I bought one of those, and I still use it. It doesn't take a lot of money. You need a cardboard box. You need tissue paper, like the stuff that you put, kind of on the inside of a present when you give it to somebody, and you wrap it in white tissue paper. You can usually get that from the dollar store or something like that. You need duct tape, preferably. You can use other types of tape, but duct tape will probably work best. And then you need some clamp lights. 3 of them will work best. You can get those at many hardware stores. I'll show you what they look like. Lastly, you need a piece of paper, white paper. You can do colors, you can do whatever you want. It depends. We'll get to that in a second. So these are the things that you're going to need if you want to build your own light box. So here is my light box. It's a little ratty, but it works. So it's a cardboard box, and this is the lid up here. You can see there's a shipping label and all that stuff. So I cut one of the flaps off of the top of the lid. That flap, I cut it off. I also cut holes, you'll see, on the one side, the other side, and the top. And then I put duct tape, you can kind of see in here, I put duct tape along these edges just so that it doesn't fray. I don't know why it would fray, it's cardboard, but I have a tendency to over-engineer. Let's just leave it at that. So I put duct tape around there. You also see I put it around the outside edge as well. And then I cut myself some pieces of tissue paper, and sometimes they'll rip because it's fragile, so keep that in mind. But I duct taped that on to one side, the other side, and the top. Last step is I took a big piece of white drawing paper, which I had laying around in a big pad of drawing paper. And I duct taped it. You can kind of see way back in there. I duct taped it way in there. And I made it so that it's this kind of smooth transition. If you set a model here, okay, you don't want there just to be a sharp line, because then you have to try to take that out. You want this model to look like it's floating in white space. So this is, in photography terms, this is known as a cyclotron, where there's no sharp corner, there's just a smooth transition. Whenever you see those commercials like the old Mac and PC commercials for Apple, those guys are standing in front of a white background, it was probably on a cyclotron. That way you didn't have to see the line where the room ended. So this is step one. You build this. It's really simple, like I said. You put some holes in, and they don't have to be too big. You don't have to have regular, the sizes are not important, frankly. You just find yourself a box, and then you cut some holes, some tape, tissue paper, try not to rip too many holes in it, piece of paper on the inside, and your model will go right here. And this will sit on a table. That's basically all you need. This is the Lightbox. But now you need lights. This is a $9 clamp light from my local Harbor Freight. Basically, pretty much any hardware store is going to keep these. It's called a clamp light because it has this clamp for clamping onto things. Okay, you need 3 of these, and then you need bulbs. Okay, this is obviously a compact fluorescent bulb, one of those corkscrewy, squirrely lights. If you can, you really want to get daylight balanced lights, if you can. The package will either say daylight balanced. It may get technical and tell you the light temperature in Kelvin with a K. You're looking for something around 6,500 K. That's daylight balanced. Believe me, it will make things a lot easier when you have to start going into Photoshop or whatever program you use to edit your photos and try to fix the colors, because if you use something like this, these are not particularly daylight balanced, and I'll probably show you an image of what it looks like without that. You use something like this and you're going to get a yellowy look, which you can kind of fix in Photoshop, but it takes more work, so it's best to use something that's daylight balanced if you can, because our eyes are used to daylight balance, but regular lights on the inside of your house, what they would call incandescent lights, not these, but more the kind with the little filament and all that, they're very yellow. But our eyes can auto white balance very quickly, and we don't really notice it that much. But our cameras do, so that's why you take a picture sometimes in the house and it looks real yellow. If you didn't use a flash or whatever, that's exactly why. So it's light balance. You would like to get daylight balanced bulbs. So you get 3 bulbs, 3 of these things. Like I said, I looked at them actually today at my local Harbor Freight. They were $9, including the clamp and the cord and the whole deal. This one is rated for 100 watts. Now that used to be a problem, because back when you were using incandescent bulbs, 100 watts was not exactly bright enough. It was close, but not too close, and these things would get real hot if you tried to go overboard and try to put a 125 or 150 watt bulb in there. Compact fluorescents may give off the light of 100 or 125 or 150 watt bulb, but they use far less electricity and they don't get as hot. So that's another good reason to use a compact fluorescent. There is a downside to using a compact fluorescent. If you try to take pictures with your cell phone, once you set up your light box and you get your light set up and you put your object in there, you try to take pictures with your cell phone, not all cell phones, but some cell phones will make it look weird and stripy. It has to do with the frequency of the light in a compact fluorescent. It kind of strobes, and again, our eyes compensate and we don't see it, but cell phone cameras do. A normal camera, like the one that I'm currently, being recorded by, when you shoot stills with it, you won't see that. But with a cell phone camera, sometimes you'll see the stripes. So that's kind of a problem. But if you use a normal camera, like on a tripod and the whole deal, it'll work just fine. For these, the one that I set on top of the box, I just lay on the top of the box. And even though the bulb is touching the paper, it never gets hot enough to really do any problems. The ones I'm going to set on the side and press against the side of the box, I just use an old book. And I just clamp the old book to the light and set it on the table, and then it just sits there and it holds up the light and the light doesn't tip over and everything's fine. So I guess to that list of supplies, that I mentioned before, you may want to throw to old books. So you set up your stuff and you get the lighting going and you find a decent camera, whether it's a point and shoot type of camera, digital, or a digital SLR with the interchangeable lenses and all that. It's best if you can put it on a tripod. It's best if you know a little bit about photography so you can try to, compensate for depth of field. Maybe do a Google search about aperture and depth of field and try to learn a little bit about that. But you can take a good shot. Even if you don't do those things, you can still take a pretty decent shot as long as you use one of those cameras. Like I said, this sort of setup with the clamp lights and the fluorescent bulbs, not necessarily so good for cell phone cameras. However, there is something that was just for sale through Kickstarter and now is for sale through the company's website because they had a very successful Kickstarter that is specifically designed for having pictures taken with cell phones. It's called a Foldio. And the Foldio is made by a company called Orange Monkie, and they had, like I said, a very successful Kickstarter, and it is a fold-up Lightbox, basically. It's not very big, it's very small, so it's really only good for small objects. For miniatures, it's perfect. It comes with 2 light strips, LED light strips. Well, you can buy it with 1, but it's best to buy it with 2. More light's always better. And it folds all down. You can unfold it, so it's in a flat package, and you can unfold it. It's got little rare earth magnets to kind of stick the sides together, and then you just put this little piece of kind of foam inside. That's your cyclotron, that's your backdrop. You set your model down there. You use 9-volt batteries to plug in the lights, and you take shots with your cell phone, and it looks really good. It's not very expensive. I want to say I think I paid through the Kickstarter, and it was probably a little cheaper earlier on the Kickstarter. It was like $45. Something like that, especially if you want to take pictures of something and you don't have a lot of room in your apartment or your house and you want to be able to fold it back up and get rid of it again real quickly. The Foldio is a really nice setup. Those LEDs that it comes with, those bright LED strips, are daylight balanced, so you don't have to worry as much about that. They work just fine with cell phone cameras. Like I said, they're designed for quickly shooting a picture with your cell phone of some sort of object. And I've been pretty happy with it. I've actually been using that more than the big cardboard box or the big pop-up tent lately because it's so quick and easy. I can throw it on the dining room table, unfold it, turn on the 2 LEDs with the 9 volts and shoot some stuff quick with my phone, put them up on a forum or a message board or wherever and say, look, this is what I've been doing. Here's my work in progress, whatever. Taking good photos is key to being able to communicate with other painters and other hobbyists out there and to show them, here's my work in progress, what do you think I should do next? I'm stuck here, I'm not sure what to do, what kind of technique should I do for this? Or this is what I've finally finished after weeks of work, what do you think? Give me some critique. If you have a lousy photo, you're selling your painting short by basically not being able to convey how good it might actually look. It's only going to look as good as the photo. So take a little bit of time. I built this while I was sitting in front of the TV watching who knows what. Get yourself a cardboard box, get yourself some duct tape, some tissue paper, or, go buy one. The Foldio, I think, is a great buy. Those pop-up tent ones are great, especially if you need to do bigger things, like you want to take pictures of terrain and show those off in terrain forums. You're going to need more space than the Foldio, possibly more space than this. So you've got a lot of options, but it's important to understand how to get the best lighting on your models to make them look best so that you can kind of show off your work.